So we need to firstly have a very robust police response, and we need the public to be totally supportive of the action that the police are taking. I sometimes think the police are a little bit concerned that maybe they overreact and so on and so forth because of instances that have happened in the past. I think we need to really support our police. We need the police there in the right numbers. Secondly, we need to lean into the kind of intelligence gathering that the Home Secretary will no doubt be privy to identify those that are the ringleaders and causing the problems here. Thirdly, we need, as the government is doing, to accelerate the court process, because what matters now is that prompt action is taken and people are seen to carry the consequences of their actions very quickly. And the final point I think that you've just been discussing actually is around social media. There is no doubt that misinformation on social media has played a significant role in what has unfolded here. And I think there are big questions, some of which you were just surfacing just now, about actions that should be taken perhaps of an immediate nature where misinformation is circulating. And I think it's also very important the way that public figures across the political divide now comment on what is quite a difficult situation, an inflammatory situation, which we want to calm down rather than stoke up.
I'll come back to that final point that you've made, Mel, in a moment. But would you support bringing in the army?
So I think that's an example of the kind of question that I noticed the policing minister didn't get drawn on. And I think she was right not to, because I don't think we should be having headlines in our newspapers at the moment saying government minister suggests army might need to be brought in. What we actually want to do is damp this down rather than up the ante around this whole situation. Of course, the government has a whole variety of different approaches at its disposal, but I think it is premature and not helpful to start speculating on that.
Just turning to sentencing, and of course the actions we hear that the courts, we heard it from Dame Diana Johnson there, that she'd like to see speedy court action, and of course we know the prospect of late sittings in our courts up and down the country. Do you think that judges should be taking a similar approach to the one taken against the Just Stop Oil protesters, where you had sentences of 5 years in one case, and a handful of other cases you had sentences, jail terms of 4 years handed down, similar size, similar length jail terms to act as a deterrent?
So clearly the sentences that will now be brought forward need to be squarely within the sentencing.
It's up to 10 years.
Guidelines, but I do think that where there has been action on the part of people, assaulting police officers, engaging in riotous behaviour, looting business premises, starting fires, burning police community centres and so on and so forth, there should be serious consequences. But look, those are matters for the judges. The most important thing is that people should know that if they commit these acts, they will be promptly caught up with and dealt with accordingly. So it's not even so much the severity of the penalty, it's the near certainty that you want to generate that swift justice will occur. And if people get involved in these kind of incidents, they will not get away with it. And we have to stand for full square with the government in this mission. I think it would be less than responsible to try and take political advantage in any way out of the serious things that are happening here.
So if Parliament was to be recalled, you'd be standing shoulder to shoulder with Keir Starmer on this particular issue?
I would, as a member of a responsible opposition, in a moment of crisis like this, be making sure that I was doing whatever I could to ensure that collectively Parliament and the government were successful in putting an end to what has been going on. Now, that's not the same thing, of course, as saying that one would agree with everything that the government's doing. And in fact, it's a great shame that actually some of the rapid response policing pilots that were brought in by us in March of last year, one of the early announcements of this government has been to cancel those. And it's exactly for the reasons of what's happening now that my party in government felt that was the right thing to do. So we won't agree on everything. But I do think that in matters like this, a responsible opposition will do what it can to work with others to ensure a positive outcome.
Are you of the view that those responsible are from the far right?
Some of them undoubtedly are. But look, there are many other different types of individual involved in the mix here, and quite outside of the context of these particular riots. Of course, we've seen all sorts of happenings on our streets around, for example, Gaza and the demonstrations around that. We have seen examples of anti-Semitism that were totally unacceptable. And what I want to see is a police force and policing that is, deals with all of those things and what they are and what they have in common, which is they are breaking the law. They are about dividing and being destructive towards communities. And these things are best jumped on quickly and firmly. And that is what I think the Conservative Party will be continuing to urge the government to do.
Do you think there's been when you talk about those other elements, do you think that the police have shown a consistent response?
I think generally across the piece, yes. I think this is an area where clearly the police interacting with the public and demonstration by demonstration will be formulating exactly how it best approaches these particular incidents. But the point that I'm making is that it's absolutely vital that we do have a consistency of approach, and it doesn't matter whether it is so-called far right or wherever else this trouble may be coming from. It is dealt in the same way because we should see it for what it is, which it is grossly unlawful. Any form of looting, rioting, burning of vehicles, assaulting police officers, whoever is doing it, needs to be dealt with and needs to be dealt with in a consistent manner.
Just moving ahead, and you mentioned, of course, some politicians behaving irresponsibly. When you look at videos from Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, do you think, namely, that Mr. Farage is one of those politicians behaving irresponsibly?
I think some of the comments that he made around whether we were being told the truth at the time that some of the messages, which themselves were very detrimental to the situation, were circulating on social media, were ill-advised. And, I go no further than that. I don't want to get dragged in some sort of big, ding dong around that. But I think they were probably ill-advised, I would say.
Do you think that, obviously Nigel Farage, as leader of Reform, there may have to be some sort of pact if the Conservatives are to find an easy path back to power between the Conservatives and Reform? If you were leader, would you look at doing some sort of pact with Reform?
So look, we've got at least two principal areas to be concerned about, Theo. One is those voters that went off to Reform and would otherwise have voted Conservative. That's by no means all of them, incidentally. There's probably about a third of them. Many would have stayed at home and not voted for us as an alternative, and about 17%, if you look at the polls, would actually have voted Liberal Democrat or Labour. But the other area that we've got obviously to be concerned about is people that went off and voted Labour or voted Conservative last time and went to vote Liberal Democrat. The way to address the issues around people voting Reform is not to get into bed with Nigel Farage, a man who has said that he is intent on destroying the Conservative Party, but it is to firstly respect and then secondly reach out to and understand the concerns, very legitimate concerns, of those voters. And they are things like migration, illegal migration, lower taxation, and so on. And we've got to address those issues. Now, some people say, well, those are issues that are a preserve of the right. I don't actually like these labels, and I think that's misleading. They are actually common ground issues that actually Liberal Democrats and Labour voters are concerned about as well. But look, we've got a long time now in opposition, probably 5 years. We've got plenty of time now to look at coming to the right solutions to the question that you've asked.